I went to locals yesterday with a new version of Dracotail, and I'm going to show you the list first. I'm going to explain what I was expecting the deck to do, because it is a new version of Dracotail that has been popping up in recent days and weeks. And the deck that I used was Magistus Dracotail. There's a couple of different versions of Dracotail out there that are being explored at the moment. Of course, you guys already mentioned, like, there's also like branded Despia, Dragon Maid, and so on and so forth. I used a version of Dracotail with the Magistus cards from Battles of Legends, and I will explain once we get to the cards what this deck is supposed to do and why I think it is such an interesting version of the deck even before we get the Magistus spoon or whatever. So I'll walk you through the list and then I'll explain why I thought this was such an interesting idea over some of the other Dracotail versions. For the Dracotail names, this is something I'm going to go over a little faster. We have 3 Femena, 3 Lucius, 3 Mululu. I decided to play 3 Pan. I'm a huge fan of a higher Dracotail count, just in general. And I think Pan is my favorite one to fuse with Femena when I'm going second, or when I just start playing into a board. I really like fusing away the Pan. I played 1 Urgula. But I'm gonna be honest with you, whenever I play Dracotail, it's kind of like with Runic, where no matter what Runic count I played, I always wished I had more. I'm considering playing more Urgulas at the moment, because I just like, the more Dracotails I draw, the better I feel. As long as I have a way to a fusion summon, I really like having a lot of Dracotails in hand. But okay, for now, 13 Dracotail names, as well as the obvious 3 K2, 3 Rahu, 1 Flame, and 1 Horn. So that's the Dracotail package. I do play 3 Cartesias in this version. Cartesia is very essential in the Magistus version of Dracotail, because the fact that it is a level 4 spellcaster makes it so you can link it off into Artemis. I will show you an example line in a second. The fact that it is a way to fusion summon that is also a spellcaster and can go into the Link 1 is very important for this version. So the preferred way to fuse in this deck is always going to be Cartesia. And then there's 1 singular Crowley, and that is the only Magistus card in the main deck. And that was also my favorite thing about this entire engine, is that you don't actually have to clog your deck with any more than just 1 Crowley, because this is highly searchable. It makes your end boards stronger without having to play like 4 or 5 Shadol cards, or like a bunch of extra Dragon Maid normal summons. Like those versions of the deck are also fine, but this is what drew me to this version, is the fact that I play 1 Crowley, and I'll show you in a second how you can access this. By the way, I want to mention, this deck is not my idea. This concept's been out there. It's top regionals, and unfortunately I forgot the name of the player. I believe it was top 8 Utah regional is the first time I saw it. But yeah, I'll show you in a second why the Crowley makes your end boards better even if you only play 1. I decided to play a patchwork package, and I went 2, 2, and 2. I wanted extra engine. I wanted extra ways to fuse. I wanted extra access to dark monsters, which is important. I'll show you later why. I guess I can say it now. It's for Kaliga, because Crowley, when it's on the field, it counts as Alistair the Invoker for a fusion summon. If you have a dark in hand and you summon Crowley, you can make Kaliga, which is very strong. And I played 2, 2, and 2 because if you only play 1 poly and you draw the poly, all of these cards are basically dead. And I don't think that's a risk you need to take, because polymerization is a very high quality card in Dracotail in general. Like, I'm not mad if I draw polymerization. Like, it's a good card. That's all the engine for the deck, and the rest is non-engine. It's not as much non-engine. The deck is 41 cards because I wanted to play the second poly and I didn't want to cut anything, but the non-engine is just 3 Fuva, 3 Nib, 3 Ash, and 1 Magnamut. I'm a big fan of Magnamut in Dracotail because you can loop it and you can search engine with it, which is really nice. So I also didn't want to cut the Magnamut to make it clean 40, because ultimately it was just locals. I wanted to try the Magnamut, see how it felt. I also didn't want to cut a Pan. There is ways to make it 40. I decided not to, because I just wanted to try all these cards and see how they felt. I kind of liked the bigger engine in Dracotail and less non-engine. I'm gonna be honest with you, the more I'm playing the current format, which mind you, I'm still relatively new to this format. Like, I've played at this point 2 regionals and 2 locals in the current format, but the more I play, the more I feel like a lot of the other non-engine, like Veilers, Ghost Ogres, and Imprims and stuff like that, they only work very few times where they actually feel good, I think. I don't know, it's really hard to stop Vanquish Soul Canine with hand traps, or Yummy with Veilers and stuff like that. I wasn't really happy about that. I think Fuva is a very good non-engine. I think Ash Blossom is pretty high quality because you can sometimes just Ash the first starter and hope they can't extend, or you can Ash Charmies on your turn, and then you can loop it with Arthalion, which is good to cover for their follow-up. I think Nibiru is the best hand trap when you're going first because you make a half board and then Nibiru behind it is really powerful. And if you go second and you can pair Nibiru with like a 5 mana and you can use the 5 mana to force the Ripper and then Nibiru them after, that's like a real win condition. And that's my problem with Valor and Imperm. Basically, Valor and Imperm and Ghost Ogre are only good against K9 decks if you have Nibiru already, which wasn't enough of a justification for me to play them. For the extra deck, we have 3 Arthalion, 1 Gulamel, 1 Secretarion, 1 Mysterion. This, I never made Mysterion. I made Secretarion a couple of times, but never made Mysterion. I played Guardian Chimera. Made this a couple of times with the patchwork package. It actually comes up a decent amount. You actually have a lot of access to poly, and you have more monsters in rotation in general because of the Edgem chain in your hand. And then for the Magistus package, you need, the most important one is Zoroa the Magistus Berethrania, which is a new card from Battles of Legends. Let me zoom in on that. You can target one effect monster in your graveyard or your opponent controls. Equip this effect monster to this card. When a monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can send a face-up Magistus monster card you control to the graveyard to negate that effect. Then you can destroy a card your opponent controls, obviously once per turn. What you do with this is you fusion summon it. It requires a Magistus monster and a fusion Synchro Xyz or Link. You summon Artemis by linking off your Cartesia or Lucius. Then you fuse into Zoroa by combining Artemis plus Arthalion. 99% of the time, this is how you make this. Then this equips the Artemis, which then allows this to be a monster negate. So you can negate Nibirus, you can negate Ash Blossoms and stuff like that. And while the Artemis is equipped, it allows you to add the Crowley from your deck to your hand, which Crowley has the Poplar effect. When this is added to your hand, you can special summon it. And then on summon, you can perform a fusion summon of a Magistus or invoked monster. You add this from your deck to your hand, you special summon it, and then you fuse. Fun fact, this also activates when you add it back from the graveyard with Arthalion. So as long as you have 1 Crowley in rotation, you can add it back on your opponent's turn with Arthalion from your grave to your hand. It's been added to your hand to special summon it out, and you can perform another fusion summon. Which is pretty cool. It makes the ceiling of this deck higher without having to play like an extra engine, basically, because it's just a one of. Other fusion targets for the Crowley. We have Iwas, the Magistus Spell Spirit, which needs a Magistus and a Spellcaster. Crowley plus any Spellcaster, Dracotail basically can go into this, or you can even fuse the Zoroa into it if you don't need it anymore. This is a quick effect. Target another face-up monster on the field. Equip this card you control to it. If this card was equipped to an opponent's monster by this effect, take control of the equipped monster. Also, it cannot activate this effect. So basically, Snatch Steal. So you can fuse on the opponent's turn. Let's say you go Arthalion, add back Crowley, summon Crowley, fuse into Iwas, and then Iwas steal your opponent's monster. We play Invoked Kaliga, which is very powerful, of course. Invoked Kaliga is relevant every once in a while, but it's a really powerful floodgate. It needs Alistair plus a Dark Monster, which we can make with Crowley, because when Crowley is used as fusion material on the field, it counts as Invoker. Each player can only attempt to activate 1 monster effect per turn. Each player can only attack with 1 monster during each battle phase. The reason why this is so broken in Dracotail, your setup is usually Zoroa and Kaliga, which means that your opponent can only attempt to activate 1 monster effect and you negate that monster effect. Your opponent can only attack with 1 monster and you simply bounce that attacking monster with Dracotail Horn. So they basically cannot really out the Kaliga with monsters. If they try to out it with a spell card, you can flame that spell card. So like, let's say they have a Dark Ruler, for example, you can flame the Dark Ruler, negate it. And then if they ash your flame or they ash your horn, that's going to be their 1 monster effect for the turn, and you just negate that with Zoroa. You see where I'm going with this, right? So it's not unoutable. You know, one imperm can out the Kaliga, but that's the thing, right? If they out the Kaliga, you still have flame, horn, Zoroa to negate a monster effect, and your regular Dracotail stuff, basically, right? It's like, even if they can out the Kaliga, which is very difficult, you still have a pretty strong set. I played a Magistus Chorozo. I never made it, but technically it can be used to protect your Kaliga in hands where you can't get access to Dracotail Horn. because you get hand trapped or you don't draw enough Dracotail engine. Because Chorozo on the field actually has an effect where it can negate attacks. If you summon these two and your opponent summons a monster that's bigger than Kaliga and they use their one effect, you can use Chorozo, use their one attack, you can use Chorozo to negate the attack, which is neat. Never came up. And then we have SP, we have Cross Sheep, and we have Typhon. Unfortunately, with the invoked Magistus package, I have no more room for Seals plus the Blue Eyes link, but I think most of the hands that can make the Blue Eyes link can also just make Artemis into the Magistus combo. So this is neat. Yeah. So I'll show you the side deck real quick, but I'm still figuring out which kind of cards I like in this format. So I have Phantasme for Yummy. I'm a big fan of Phantasme against Yummy in Dracotail, because I think the main thing you have to do with Dracotail is answer the Herald. And so I just play cards that give me extra bodies to attack over Herald, Pankratops, Phantasme. I played 3 Perulias for a lot of, I don't know, Vanquish Soul, K9, just K9 in general. In theory, I like Perulia against K9, because it just discourages them from doing like the full K9 stuff, because the more K9s they extend with, the more cards you draw. This is a turn 0 format where a lot of the decks like Vanquish Soul and Dracotail, they have like turn 0 plays. In this deck, it's 5 mana. So I think anything that gives you a slightly higher chance of finding your 5 mana is good. So like Perulia and Phantasme to dig deeper and try to find 5 mana in Fusion Material, I think is good. I played 3 Dark Rulers also for Yummy. Just negate the Herald and you're good to go. You can also side it in some other matchups. Like I would have sided it against Vanquish Soul K9. I'm a little iffy on Dark Ruler against Vanquish Soul K9, because what if they Paradise Smasher me? But then ultimately, like, what are you really gonna do if they Paradise Smasher you? So I thought, like, I'll just play 3 Imperms with it. So my plan was to like try to Imperm the Paradise Smasher and then just overwhelm the board with cards like Dark Ruler and Strong Engine like Patchwork. But that was just the side deck plan. The side deck I'm still like messing around with, but for the most part, it was fine. Not perfect though. I played against some Dracotail decks and I realized I didn't have that much for Dracotail. At the same time, Dracotail is like a deck where most of the time you don't need like a hard counter for it. You can also just play normally against it and it's probably fine. So just to show you an example of how the Crowley works in this deck, let's say you open Cartesia plus, okay, I'll show you the good combo. Let's say you have this, just to give you a rough idea of how you can turn this into like a crazy end board. So you would go normal summon Cartesia, activate the effect, use 5 mana and Mululu into a Arthalion. The Arthalion would add these 2 back, while these 2 set 2 spell traps from your deck. In this case, you can set K2 and Rahu. These 2 go back into your hand. Then you turn the Cartesia into Artemis. And then you can use the 5 mana to fuse these 2 into the Zoroa. Now, Zoroa is going to equip the Artemis. Here, you have 2 options. You can either play it safe, or you can play it greedy. I'm going to show you the greedy line, but I'm going to explain to you why it's greedy. So, the reason why it's greedy is because we're summoning Kaliga on the first turn at the end of the combo, which means that we have to wait with the Artemis Search. Because if we go Artemis Search Crowley now, and we special summon the Crowley and we activate the Crowley to fuse with the Mululu into the Kaliga, we lock ourselves with the Kaliga. So we have to wait with this until basically the end of our combo if we want to summon the Kaliga instantly, which means that if at any point our opponent Nibiru's us or Ashes us and we want to negate it with the Zoroa, we would have to send the Artemis from the spell trap zone away to negate it, which is possible. It says monster card, but if we send the Artemis to the grave, obviously it's no longer equipped and we cannot search the Crowley anymore. So that's why it's greedy to not search the Crowley right away with the Artemis. But if you do search the Crowley right away with the Artemis, then you would not be able to make Kaliga this turn. So let's say we hold off on searching the Crowley for now. We just have the Zoroa equipped with the Artemis and these 2. In this instance, I would say you go K2 for a Urgula. Where's Urgula? And then you activate Rahu to fuse with the Urgula from your hand, and then any other Dracotail from your deck. I don't think it matters too much. Let's just say we use a Pan, so we can add it back with Arthalion on the opponent's turn or something. I don't know. And we make Gulamel. These 2 now trigger to we've used the Rahu to set the 2 traps. We then use Urgula to go back to the bottom of the deck to add a 5 mana to the hand for the opponent's turn. And we can then use the Artemis to search Crowley, special Crowley, activate Crowley, fuse with the Malulu in hand to make Kaliga, right? So, and then end phase, your 1 monster effect this turn is going to be adding back the Cartesia from your deck to your hand. And if they don't out the Kaliga, you basically win right away. If they haven't outed the Kaliga, like an impermanence, they imperm the Kaliga, but you still have Zoroa to negate a monster, Gulamel to destroy, Flame to negate a spell, Horn to bounce a monster, and 5 mana to fuse into, you can 5 mana fuse into Arthalion, and then add back the Crowley from the grave, special to Crowley, fuse into the Iwas to steal a monster, right? So basically, the reason why I like this is because the Crowley is only 1 card in your deck, but it enables broken boards like this. And this is like, most hands can get to this setup. You don't have to draw Cartesia. You don't have to draw specifically this or that. Like, you can do this with like Patchwork plus Lucius and stuff like the high engine hands in different sequencing can get to this board, I'm pretty sure. And just as a side note, if you do want to play it a little safer and search the Crowley earlier, I can show you what you would do. So basically, once you are at this point where you have these 2 face down, the Mululu and the Mululu back in hand, the 5 mana in the graveyard, we were here earlier, you can just use the Artemis to search for the Crowley and not special it. You just hold it in your hand, right? You just hold it in your hand, and then you can go activate K2, search for the Urgula, then Rahu, fuse with the Urgula and the Pan to make Gulamel and set the 2 traps. The advantage of doing it this way around is that while you're doing Rahu and stuff, your Zoroa negate is already live. I mean, it's live technically in the other combo as well, but if you send the Artemis, you don't get the Crowley at all. And so you're not going to fuse with the Crowley on the first turn if you do this, but you're going to end with these 3 in hand here. Urgula is back at the bottom of the deck. And then on the opponent's turn, you also get the Cartesia back. I don't know where it went. The Cartesia has been lost, but you would have the Cartesia in hand. And then you can use the 5 mana to fuse with the Malulu, negate a monster effect, and then the Crowley can still make you the Snatch Steal, right? So you don't have to go for the Kaliga on the first turn if you want to. This is the safer line, and honestly, against most matchups, this is still good enough. So I would maybe even recommend this line over the Kaliga line, because it is a little riskier into hand traps. But yeah, just that. Okay, so that's the deck list.